So this is Steve, and I'm here with Rusty York. Rusty is a Democrat who is running for the 4th District City Council seat here in Fort Wayne, and he's also the Safety Director for the City of Fort Wayne. We appreciate your time today.
Well, you bet. I'm looking forward to it.
Sure. Well, maybe for those of us who don't know you, tell us a little bit about yourself.
All right. Well, I was born in Fort Wayne, as was my wife. We met in high school, at Central Catholic High School, which no longer exists, and we just celebrated our 45th wedding anniversary, so I've been together for a long time. But anyway, right after high school, I started out my career as an electrical lineman. That's back when City Lights still existed, and I got in kind of on the ground floor as a laborer, and then got involved in their apprenticeship program, and ultimately became a lineman. I worked there for 7 years and was part of IBEW 723, International Brotherhood of Electrical Workers. And that was a job right out of high school, and I never really intended it to be a career. And in the early 70s, I thought, geez, police work would be really interesting, I think, because it provided the opportunity to be out and do different things that I appreciated about line work. I didn't relish the idea of working in an office all day or in a factory. So I applied and was fortunate enough to get on the Fort Wayne Police Department in 1975. I worked there for 22 years and went from being a patrolman to a captain. And I retired as a captain in 97, and went to work for Fort Wayne Community Schools in their transportation division. So I learned a lot about what the school system is dealing with right now in their issues involving their budget and transportation. And during my time with the school system, I got to know Graham Richard and got involved while he was running for mayor in his Safe Cities Committee. And when he was successful, he asked if I would be interested in coming back as chief. And quite frankly, Steve, I missed police work and thought this would be a great opportunity. I was a little leery about the security I would be leaving at the school system, because at that time the tenure or life expectancy of a chief of police in the United States was 2 to 3 years. By life expectancy, I mean in the job. Mm-hmm. And but I did it, and it was with the help of my wife making that decision. It was a good one, and it's provided me with experience and exposure to people that I never could have gotten anywhere else. But during that journey, and I was a chief for 14 years, I was able to, as a young officer, complete my bachelor's degree in criminal justice at IPFW, attend the FBI National Academy and their executive leadership development course, and traveled to some really neat places. I became a member of the Police Executive Research Forum, which is really the premier police think tank internationally. And during that time, and I'm still a member, but I was able to travel with them to Belfast, Northern Ireland, and for a short period of time consult regarding community-oriented policing, as they were coming from basically the military style of policing into more community-related policing. And so for the last year and a half, I transitioned from being chief of police to public safety director, which basically gives me oversight of police and fire. And it came at a good time in my life and career, because I was able to really mentor a younger police command staff, getting ready to transition into hopefully city council or semi-retirement, and also to work with the fire command, a very young fire command, and we've made some really beneficial and significant changes, and I really feel comfortable and successful with the leadership we have now, both in the police and fire department. So, that brings us up to now. And as you said, I'm running for 4th District Council as a Democrat, and I just think again, this point in my career, it would be a good transition. I think I can bring with me, I know I can bring with me my years of experience, working with city council and with elected officials both on both sides, Republican and Democrat, and city and county. And I think I could bring a strong sense of collaboration and cooperation. I think, we could, again, work better to get things done that the city of Fort Wayne and the people need.
Okay. And you kind of answered my next question there, which was why do you want to run for city council?
Well, again, that was my primary focus, being able to still be involved. And I think, all these years of experience, the collective knowledge I have will be beneficial of not only the system but the personalities. But also, since the primary, what's motivated me even more is knowing who my opponent is, because I think we really need to keep up the momentum in the city of Fort Wayne. We're doing some tremendous things, not only downtown, but throughout our community. And my opponent really is, against the city being involved in promoting or financing any of the important projects that we have going on now. And I think to make Fort Wayne, to improve our quality of place, to not only attract but retain the young people that are so important to any company that's considering coming here, we need to improve our core and to improve our neighborhood. So I wouldn't like to see that stunted. I think we have to continue on and do more and better things.
Okay. So what's the role of city council in government?
Well, obviously, to either sponsor or support different ordinances that would improve not only our safety, but our quality of life, but also to help make the city of Fort Wayne an attractive place, not only for people to locate here, but also for businesses to locate here. And I think another important function or role that's sometimes overlooked is being an advocate for the city of Fort Wayne to our legislators. For instance, since 2009, with the change of the property tax caps, Fort Wayne has realized a loss of revenue up to last year of over $80 million. And the last estimate I heard is in 15 we will be recognizing an additional loss of $15 million. So $80 million previously, another $15 million this year. In spite of that, Fort Wayne has been able to do a great job, but we're one of the few cities in Indiana. And I think when you look at the problems the Fort Wayne Community School System is having right now with their transportation issues, and you look at what we've had to do to maintain our streets and our infrastructure, look at innovative ways. I'm not saying I want to go to the state and ask them to raise property taxes, but I think what's happening now is a lot of changes are being made at the state level without much input from cities, and I think we have to advocate more for the city of Fort Wayne and what's important for us. So I would see that as an important role. Granted, a Democrat's going to have a hard time, in the legislature that's primarily Republican, but I would hope to, encourage other members of City Council to get involved too.
Sure. And we're talking about the budget. One of the things that I hear is, that there's money in the budget to be cut, that there's expenses that can be cut, and yet I know we've sat in city council meetings together over the years and heard the different arguments, and the question is, after all this time, as hard as everyone's looked at that budget, is there money to be cut?
Well, in police and fire and animal control, that comes under the safety director's control, and that's a budget with those three entities of just about $100 million. And I can tell you that, over the years we've done a lot to reduce that budget. We operate very lean but effectively, and in fact, anticipating through retirements or resignations or military duty, we used to go in there with a budget of 460 officers. That's our authorized level, but we don't. We put together a budget assuming that we're going to have officers off for different things. We almost always go in 25 under. So that's significant. It's at the end of the year, we never give money back, which was the norm even 12 years ago. And basically, Steve, and I can speak more appropriately, but I know it's citywide, to public safety budgets. Obviously, 80% of it's personnel, paying salaries, paying benefits, paying insurance, and pensions. And the rest of it is, keeping gas in the cars and keeping the lights on. So I don't see any fat in these budgets, and I appreciate what the mayor and Pat Roller have done. Again, to be inventive, looking at revenue. For example, Pat's been able to lock in gas now under the retail rate for 2016. We're getting all our gas for $2 a gallon. And so, that's significant. It's things like that, pooling our resources with other entities and working with local business to get things like that done.
Are there issues that you feel specifically in the 4th District that you would like to work on?
Well, I think in talking to people in the 4th District, one of their primary concerns is maintaining a robust public safety response. They want to make sure that when they call 911, that either a police officer or a firefighter is going to show up there, within minutes. And so, with my knowledge of public safety, we want to make sure that continues. One thing that we did just yesterday that you were at was, the city water in Aboite. That's not only big for quality of life reasons, but as the mayor explained, for public safety reasons as well, because we had firefighters going out to those hydrants and not having enough water pressure to get the job done. Plus, as the mayor mentioned, it saved, I think, $800,000 so far just in the Aboite area due to reduced utility costs. So I think that's significant. We've got to continue with that. We have to remember that there's still areas of Aboite that are on wells and that are on septic systems. And we need to focus our efforts on getting those folks additional city services. But also what's important to the people of the 4th District are our trails. And, there's already trails in the works, additional trails on 14 or Illinois Road. And I know that the plans are for Hadley Road, which, by the way, I live on Hadley Road. But also, I think it's important that we make that link to the downtown area. I think it's important that we have a link going across Jefferson to connect the trails, the towpath, as well as the Aboite trails safely across Jefferson. And then I'd also, I think it's important to the people of the 4th to connect across I-69 or perhaps Bass Road for people to provide a more direct route into the heart of our city. So, those things, I know that flooding typically is an issue that's going to be a little bit harder to, when I say flooding, standing water, not necessarily flooding, but most of that area in Aboite was developed when it was not inside the city limits. Some of it as far back as the 50s. And, you know, the drainage issues are concerned, not necessarily the mixture of septic and storm water, but just standing water that there's a lot of concern about. And as I said, maintaining the quality of life. And I think, you know, people, they appreciate the city services they get. They're willing to pay for them. They just want to make sure that they continue as efficiently and effectively as they have.
How does a vibrant downtown core, how does that affect the 4th District, which is kind of, I don't think you connect with downtown directly. You're not bordering on the downtown area. So how does it affect your district?
Well, I think it definitely affects the district in that it, again, makes the city more robust, more attractive for people to, you know, when they graduate from college to stay here. You know, we've got a lot of flight down to Indianapolis, Chicago, other cities where people know that they can go, young people, and not only find a good job, but an environment that they appreciate. Much like we see happening downtown now, young people, you know, whether it's the Randall Lofts or, you know, the Anthony Wayne Building, those places are filling up, you know, as soon as they're available. People are attracted to that type of lifestyle. So, you know, we need to grow that. One thing that I saw that was interesting, you know, if your audience would go to TripAdvisor and Google Fort Wayne, you know, unlike some cities, what they'll find the main attractions are, of course, the zoo, the library, the ballpark, and then the brands, you know, touring the factory. And while all of those are good, they're not the type of exciting things young people look for, or anybody would look for in a community. So I think we have to provide those things. I think, you know, the new venue that they're talking about downtown is important. I know there's people leery about that, the Coliseum, but I think
Talking about the downtown arena.
Yes. I think whatever we can do to, you know, maintain the people of our city and attract more and more business, I think it benefits, you know, all the areas. I do believe sincerely, though, that we can't neglect our neighborhoods, 4th District obviously included, you know, in our drive to improve the downtown. You know, we have to maintain that equilibrium. And again, what's most important, I think to the folks anywhere, but I know in the 4th, is the infrastructure. They want their roads to be without holes and potholes, and, you know, they want their sewers and their water and utilities, you know, to be effective. So we have to keep that up.
Okay. Let's talk a little bit about, and you'll have to forgive me, I can't get used to the new nomenclature, but the tax abatements, or I guess we now call them tax phase-ins. Mm-hmm. How do you feel about tax abatements in general?
Well, I think they can be good, you know, to attract business, but I also think it's great now that council is really examining the commitment that these companies have made as far as bringing in new jobs. And I think we have to really set a precedent and develop the procedure that on an annual basis, you know, we check these businesses that have received these abatements to make sure that they're making good on their promise. And I think if they aren't, we should not continue with ours. I think it's only fair, but I do think, you know, for businesses wanting to open here to attract jobs, that we should provide that incentive.
Let's talk a little bit about collective bargaining and the unions. That's kind of an issue that, in a lot of respects, has already been decided.
Yes.
But where did you weigh in on that issue?
Well, I can say that, you know, dealing with 9 unions in the city of Fort Wayne, not for public safety, you know, we have 3, the PBA, the FOP, and then the firefighters, International Firefighters, IAFF. it was never really burdensome. I mean, it was just business. And in the Civil City, it was a little bit different. I think they had 6 additional unions. That was a little bit cumbersome, but it was very doable. Actually, Steve, I don't think with the elimination of collective bargaining for Civil City, the city didn't save a dime. I think it was a philosophy, obviously that was important to the Republican majority on city council. I think it was very disruptive for the civilian workforce that were organized, and I just don't think it was necessary. So, if I'm reelected, I would sponsor an ordinance to reinstitute collective bargaining within Civil City, and I would obviously vote for that. I think it's, whether we would be successful or not obviously hinges on whether there's a Democratic majority or not. That's my perspective. As I said early on, when I was a young person, I was involved in a union, and I think that it's good because it provides people a way to be involved, in their benefits, in their salary, and I think, I really think, I know some people don't, that it improves quality of service. So that's my commitment.
I guess that's sort of the list of questions that I had that I wanted to run through with you. Is there anything that you'd like to add? Anything that you want to talk about we didn't cover?
Well, again, I'd probably be repeating what we've talked about earlier, but, just for your listeners, I think where we're at in the city of Fort Wayne now, it's very important that they study the candidates. I know you hear this all the time, but it is critical, and it's important that people, whatever they decide, they get out and vote. It was really, I think, unfortunate the low turnout, for the primary. It's not very glamorous, I know that, but now I think there's a lot of very qualified people on both sides that are in the race, and people really need to figure out what they stand for, what they're going to bring to city council or mayor or city clerk, and get out there and vote. It's just an important time. Just living in Fort Wayne all my life, I mean, I'm old enough to remember when Fort Wayne downtown was a vibrant hub, before you had the shopping malls, and I remember getting on the bus with my mom and coming down here, and it just being packed. But then I remember too downtown being a ghost town. After business hours, everybody would go back, outside the downtown area. A lot of the beautiful buildings we have down here were the facades were modernized and cheapened, I feel, and so many apartments and dilapidated buildings, and now we're on the rebound. And I think it's so important that we support that. I would hope that the citizens of Fort Wayne would, and look at, again, the agendas of the people running for office and vote accordingly.
Rusty, we appreciate your time today.
I appreciate it too. Thank you.
And we wish you well in November.
Well, thank you, sir.